What does it mean to be lost to history? The ancient Roman town of Herculaneum essentially disappeared in the year 79 AD, buried by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, destroyed by a pyroclastic surge of superhot gases between 400 and 900 degrees Fahrenheit, moving nearly 200 miles per hour. The searing heat boiled the blood and vaporized the flesh of its victims, burned all in its path, leaving behind a charred city beneath layer upon layer of ash and volcanic debris. But emerging new technologies push scientific boundaries to recover and restore archaeological artifacts. Taken together, advances in X-ray imaging, data science, and artificial intelligence may soon delicately and digitally unravel history and reveal ancient texts dating a few years before the height of the Roman Empire. Computer scientist and University of Kentucky professor Brent Seals is at the forefront of these efforts.
Augmented reality is supposed to be presenting you with a view of your actual environment. There's no question that in the world of ancient material, this technology is going to help us break through and read materials that have never been read before.
Like the Herculaneum Scrolls, papyrus manuscripts flash-fried by Vesuvius 2,000 years ago, left carbonized and sealed shut. Mysterious Roman time capsules that currently drive the professor's curiosity.
They are the canonical example of material from antiquity that is both too fragile to open and also so valuable and mysterious that it has captured the attention of scholars for many years.
Seals and his team at the Digital Restoration Initiative, part of the university's College of Engineering, have pioneered archaeological applications for technologies originally designed for medical study, specifically microcomputed 3D tomography.
We're an imaginative people, right? So we see that advance and we say, now that I see how that works, there are applications maybe no one's thought of that can cause breakthroughs in other areas. And that imagination, right, and then that reapplication is part and parcel of the innovative process. And then how many slices do you have to make up the whole run of the scroll? I mean, maybe 12,000? Right. Yeah, it's a lot of data, right?
And it's that imagination, coupled with a surefire confidence in methodology, which drives Seals to his most ambitious projects and ultimate successes, including the 2016 virtual unwrapping of a 3rd century Hebrew scroll known as the En-Gedi scroll. Using X-ray to peer inside the badly damaged rolled-up animal skin, Seals and his team laid out the artifact's geometric volume without ever opening it, highlighting the text within. Now he's set his sights on the Herculaneum Scrolls. Back before the eruption, the Bay of Naples offered a restful environment, just as it does now, an ideal playground for the Roman elite and well-to-do. California's Getty Villa is an architectural replica of the Herculaneum estate thought to be the home of Caesar's father-in-law. Kenneth Lepatin is the museum's curator of antiquities.
We know the Bay of Naples is where Romans, senators, and later emperors left the city in the heat of the summers to much more pleasant climates in the south. And in a way, I think it was like the Hamptons in the United States.
The nearby city of Pompeii and its chilling body casts, death poses, seemingly frozen in time, may haunt the public's mind. But sitting at the base of Vesuvius, the small town of Herculaneum and the lavish estates surrounding it were burned and buried as well.
We know the wind was blowing south, so the huge column of volcanic material created an ash cloud, which was blown south, and the ash gently fell on Pompeii. When that force of the volcano subsided and the ash cloud dropped, a very, very hot, steamy, muddy, volcanic, gassy cloud rolled down the hill at high speed and burnt and buried Herculaneum very differently than Pompeii, burning and carbonizing and thus preserving a lot of the finds. So Herculaneum is smaller than Pompeii, more deeply buried, and better preserved.
Largely forgotten, Herculaneum's ruins were first discovered in the mid-18th century under 75 feet of compacted volcanic ash. During the next 300 years, excavations started and stopped. The town still lies mostly underground and undisturbed. One reason why what has been unearthed is incredibly rare and treasured. And so the Getty Villa's 2019 summer exhibit, Buried by Vesuvius, includes many priceless items recovered from its ancient prototype, many on loan and transported out of Italy for the first time ever. Statues, frescoes, and a few of those charred and scarred papyrus scrolls, by which the original site is now known, Villa di Papiri. It's a small sample of an extraordinary find, a library of some 1,800 relics. There may be more as of yet unexcavated.
We understand that when they first hit these papyrus scrolls, they looked like charcoal briquettes. No one knew what they were. And the story goes that one of them was dropped and broke open, and letters were found within, Greek writing, and then they were recognized for what they are. But they were carbonized and really frozen, in a sense, by this volcanic debris, so they can't just be easily unrolled.
Through the centuries, laborious efforts to unfurl the fragile manuscripts often left scholars an odd collection of puzzle pieces.
We could say a jigsaw puzzle in 3D, because many of the fragments are also so-called multi-layer fragments.
Fabrizio Diazzi leads the Department of Papyri at the National Library of Naples, holder of the vast majority of the scrolls. The painstaking work to piece together the pieces brought to light a library largely consisting of poetry and Epicurean philosophy, detailing the virtues of friendship and modest pleasures. Writings never copied by medieval and Muslim scribes, and therefore hidden from scholarly interpretation.
E quindi è come se fosse appena stata pensata e scritta. It's a primary source. We could say freshly thought, yeah?
This is a unique find. This is the only library we have with its contents from the ancient Greco-Roman world. We have lots of library buildings, but they're empty. They're just standing shells.
The scrolls are immensely valuable in the sense that it's the only library from antiquity that has ever been discovered in place. All libraries from antiquity have been lost.
But in many respects, it's an unreadable library, with some 400 to 500 scrolls still sealed shut. Ancient texts and thought lost in plain sight.
What's really interesting about Herculaneum is that it brings out your own personal interests and expectations because it's mysterious and intriguing and entirely open as to what each one of those individual texts will be.
Determined to learn what lies within, it was his earlier work with the Engedi scroll which excited those charged with preserving and protecting Herculaneum's heritage, and afforded Seals a new scholarly partnership.
Yes, when I saw this clip, I think let's do it our scrolls.
And so Seals and his team partnered with the UCLA School of Dentistry to use the powerful and sensitive X-ray equipment on site to scan those 3 scrolls before installation at the Getty exhibit. For 2 of the samples, the team designed form-fitting molds to protect the actual antiquities.
This 3D printed model, which is just made out of plastic, helps us have the exact form and shape so that this is a lot easier to do than messing with the real sample, which is a lot more fragile.
Never these papyri were so touched for so long time, so far from home.
Yeah.
It's everything new.
Yeah, so we have to be careful. Okay, so orientation's pretty important because this is a form-fitted case specifically for the shape. So the real scroll has to be oriented, right, in exactly this position so that it'll go in there just as it should. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yes, go. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, very nice. That's a perfect fit too, isn't it? Perfecto.
Preservation takes priority throughout the process. Photo documentation at every step.
Okay, you have what you need?
Soft sheets of Teflon add an extra layer of cushion.
Yeah, that's cool. This is the trickiest part of the preparation for the scanning because you really don't want to cause any damage beyond just handling it normally. And so the Teflon is like putting a baby to bed, you know, with a blanket on the top and on the bottom, you know, and you use that kind of care, you know, just like you're dealing with a little child, putting it to bed. In the little form-fitted case so that everybody is safe and sound for the time that the scanner is going to be running. Yeah, very nice. No pressure. Awesome. Very nice job, Luigi. Thank you. Very nice. Okay. What do you think?
Demonstrating that it doesn't move.
Yeah. Pretty stable. Yeah, looks great. Rock solid.
Have a look down there.
Ready to go.
Once set, the computers take over, performing its program, running more than 24 hours.
Set the parameters for that scan and kick it off.
This scanner's platform rotates slower than the eye can see in order to capture critical data from every angle. Here's how it works.
The sample size of every individual point of this data set we collect will be very, very small, about the thickness of a strand of silk, even better than the size of a human hair. We need that kind of resolution to be able to see everything about the detail inside the scrolls. What I'm seeing right now, I mean, these views are really lovely. I mean, we can see so much structure, and you see these variations in density, and that's where the curiosity comes in. You know, what's that? What's causing that? That's really, really interesting. The data that we take through X-ray gives us the platform to do all of the next steps that allow us to open it up. Those steps include finding where the layers that are inside really are in that data. We call that segmentation, and it just means that we're finding the layers and modeling what they look like so that we know exactly what the shape is that we're dealing with. That modeling step is actually not that easy because the layers, you can imagine, of a wrapped up scroll or a book that's been crushed, those layers and their shapes are completely unpredictable. We don't know in advance what they're going to look like until we take the scan. So we have a computer algorithm that we've built to be able to find every one of those layers, identify them, and then model them.
They've done this all before, so they know understanding the volume and layout is just the beginning. Identifying text might be even more complex, depending on the type of ink used.
In certain situations, that's direct, because the ink is made from iron or lead and we can just see it. In other situations, it's more subtle than that, because the ink has to be viewed as just a layer of material that's very similar to what it's written on. And so we have to find a way to go ahead and do that amplification.
The X-ray can pinpoint microscopic shapes, potential layers of ink. But then artificial intelligence will likely provide confirmation based on a predetermined reference.
The fact that the ink deposits in a layer and you can measure the thickness of that layer, the fact that the ink soaks into the fibers of the material that you're writing on, all of those physical phenomenon end up being measurable by the imaging method that we're using. And then we can put them together using AI to amplify what we see with the naked eye. It's not unlike learning how to do face recognition by sampling 1 million different faces and pointing out to the algorithm, okay, that's a face, that's a face, that's a face, and then learning from those examples what a face looks like in an unknown image.
In the case of the Herculaneum Scrolls, the fragments of scrolls damaged by earlier attempts to unroll them will hopefully provide seals with that AI detail to identify the ancient text.
So I think it's really ironic and maybe poetically beautiful that the sacrifice of those early scrolls might provide the reference that we exactly need to be able to read the ones that are still inaccessible.
So what we're doing here is we're looking at the 140 gigabytes of data that we collected overnight. What we've done here is taken over about 10,000 images, 10,000 radiographs that we're going to use to compute the internal structure of the scroll.
With just 3 days to work with these incredible relics, the team compiled a total of approximately 1.3 terabytes of data, thanks to a combined 164 hours in the scanners. Algorithms will analyze the data sets, but given the massive amount of data and SEAL's detailed methodology, it could take 6 months to a year to reach and release any final results.
Well, you know, my expectations are always different from everyone else's. I expect things to happen quickly, but what's probably going to happen is that we will not see the complete text right away because there are too many computational steps involved in being really deliberate and systematic about our work.
But when dealing with 2,000-year-old documents, what's a few months mean to learn the secrets held within?
The prospect of non-invasively, virtually unwrapping these scrolls and reading their texts is a very exciting breakthrough, and scholars will potentially have access to a text that's complete, that's whole, and undamaged.
If I could see one of our scrolls, seeing the writings, naturally I'd jump for joy. What else?
Now that the digital data is collected, a little patience won't dampen that enthusiasm and technological promise. So recognizing the ravages of time on these ancient artifacts, the Naples National Library has already expanded its partnership with SEALS and his team.
People take a look around and they say, we might not have this material with us for always and ever. Notre Dame can burn, and that threat makes us reevaluate the urgency with which we want to treat the valuable materials that we have.
In the end, this work marks an evolution in archaeology, unobtrusively building a modern library of ancient knowledge without ever turning a page.
When the Herculaneum Scrolls were discovered 250 years ago, we were in the dark ages of conservation. We experimented with these materials, we as a community, and some of them were destroyed. I think that these new techniques for imaging will give us more information than ever before to transform how conservation is done so that we don't make those mistakes again.